Hey, welcome to Strength Side. So you're watching this video because you can't squat to full depth or you just can't squat well. So we want to present a quick and easy way that you can assess your squat and figure out why you're having issues with it. Whether it's a mobility issue and what mobility issue it is, or if it's a stability issue like a big butt wink. Okay? So the first step of the assessment is body weight squat. Now we need to outline the criteria of what we would call passable body weight squat. Okay? So first and foremost, obviously, the first criteria is depth. So if you can't squat past 90 degrees, then we're going to say not a passable squat. Okay? Secondly, we're looking at the spine. If you can't maintain a neutral spine throughout the squat, meaning if you're getting to a certain depth and the butt's tucking under, or more importantly, what we'll see most often is if at the beginning of the movement, you're moving into an extended spine and then dropping back into neutral at some point, also not passable. That's not a squat that we want to load. Okay? Third, we're looking at knee placement or knee tracking. So we want to see the knees track over the toes. Okay? Specifically the second toe or outside. So if you're getting any dropping in of the knees, that's what we'll call a valgus movement, and it's not a passable squat. So that begs the question, and point number 4, where should our feet be? So really any placement of the feet, unless it's excessively toed out, is fine. As long as your knees can track. What we're looking for though, with the foot placement is, are the feet actually moving while the squat is happening? If the feet are spitting out, if we're squatting, you're getting movement of the feet, not a passable squat. Or if you're getting inversion, losing the arch of your foot, also not passable. Okay? And lastly, what we're looking at is what we're going to call bar placement. Okay? So if you imagine I have a bar on my back, and then I squat, I have a straight bar path, down and up. Now, what we're looking for here, and what you'll see in a lot of bodyweight squats, is a big leaning forward of the torso, meaning a forward bar path. Okay? So you'll see something like this. Also, not passable. Forward bar path, not something we'll load. Okay, so you just did that assessment, and you passed, go squat. If you didn't, we're going to move into step 2, and that's the counterbalance squat. Okay? So what you're going to do is grab a light weight, probably 10 pounds or under. And all you're going to do is extend the weight out in front of you and squat. Okay? So if you can now squat with a counterbalance, you have a stability issue. Okay? So you don't have any mobility restrictions. Your hips aren't too tight, your ankles aren't too tight, so don't bother on mobility. You need to go back and relearn the fundamentals of motor control over your core. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and say that you did not pass this assessment. Now, we don't know exactly what the issue is yet, but the next step, the third part of the assessment, is to then elevate the heels. So we're going to put the heels up on something. Usually like a 5-pound plate is fine. Anything about a half an inch or so. We're going to elevate the heels, and we're going to do the counterbalance squat again. Boom. Now you can squat to full depth. Now we know that it's an ankle mobility issue. Okay? So you have a mobility restriction in the ankles, and you need to work on that. Now don't forget though, we still use the counterbalance. So even if you clear up your ankle, you may still have a stability issue. You still need to work on that. So once you fix your ankle problems, you still need to assess whether you have a stability issue. Okay? So now you still didn't pass that. Now we can say that you have a hip mobility issue. So as we've talked about in previous videos, we know that hip flexion is always caused by a limitation of internal rotation mobility or external rotation mobility. Okay? So an easy way to figure out what you're lacking is to go into what we call quadruped rock back. So we're going to get down in a quadruped position from the elbows to simulate a forward lean of the squat. Okay? What we're going to do is start an external rotation with the knees outside of the feet, and we're just going to rock back to the heels. Trying to put your back pockets to your heels, okay? So if you're lacking external rotation, what this will look like is you'll get to a certain point and boom, you'll dump into flexion of the spine, and you'll probably get some sort of impingement feeling inside of the hip. Okay? Now, most people aren't lacking external rotation. What we find is most people are lacking internal rotation. So what we're going to do is pull the knees in and put the feet out, effectively putting you into internal rotation. We're going to do the same thing. Rock back. And what you'll find if you're missing internal rotation is, boom, you get to a certain point, dump into flexion here, can't go anywhere, feel impingement in the hip. Okay? So now we've just figured out exactly why you have a hip mobility issue. Either you're lacking internal rotation or external rotation. So then we can go ahead and attack those issues with effective strategies rather than just throwing random mobilizations and seeing what sticks. And especially, and we see this a lot, is people can't squat deep and they'll do a couch stretch or hip flexor stretch. If you noticed, we didn't talk at all about hip extension or knee flexion in the video, and that's what a couch stretch is stretching. And that's because those will never be a limitation of a squat. So, although they may be good for posture, we're going to go ahead and say that they're not going to make you squat better. Okay? We need to attack the actual problem, why your hips aren't moving. Now that being said, what we find most of the time is that people aren't lacking the mobility to get into these positions. They're lacking the stability to get into these positions. Okay? So whether it manifests itself as the huge arching of the back in the beginning of the squat and then dumping into a neutral spine at the bottom, or even lacking internal rotation in the hip, a lot of time can be a stability issue. If we put the pelvis into a posterior tilt and brace, you'll actually have more internal rotation. Okay? And we can see this a lot of the time by having someone do a few stability exercises like a dead bug or a bear crawl, and then retesting their internal rotation, and it will be degrees better and they'll squat deeper. So try these out, assess yourself a few times after doing specific stabilization techniques and see if it helps. So try it out, give us some feedback, let us know what you think. We'll see you in the next video.